What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. Probably you guys heard the in-game news so far. We have a couple of things happening, and we have some other news that Plarium just released. I don't have the camera on. I was literally on my way out when I saw that they actually released some news, so I quickly decided to record the video for you guys. Basically, let's start with the thing that's in-game, and then we're gonna move to the more serious stuff. Hard mode dungeons preparation, free gear removal, 3 drop fever events, and more. So I think this patch is gonna happen either tomorrow, either on Thursday. The new dungeons, I would assume they're gonna be coming to the game on Thursday. But basically, if you guys are paying attention to this, from tomorrow we're gonna have free gear removal all the way to Saturday. So we're gonna have a few days to play around, build champions for the new dungeons, etc. Thursday, we're gonna have a 3x drops on Stalwart gear from the Dragon Slayer. Who knows, Stalwart might be coming back into the meta for the new dungeons if they deal tons and tons of damage. Then, on March 10th, they're tripling your chances of getting reflex artifacts from the Ice Golem. And everyone's most favorite event, the freaking best event in the game when we are talking about dungeons, from Friday, March 10th, until Saturday, March 11th. So this is gonna be kind of like, what, 12 hours, 18 hours? Well, what do we have here? They're tripling your chances of getting savage artifacts from the Fire Knight Castle. So each only lasts for 12 hours. Okay, so we have 12 hours of each one of the events. I would assume with the new dungeons, right? Pretty exciting to know that they are doing a 3x on Savage together with the new dungeon, which I do hope is the case. If no, it's kind of like, well, we don't want to farm the old dungeons knowing that the new dungeons are near the corner. On Thursday, March 9, they're planning to launch a special hard mode string pack containing items to help you take on these dungeons. Well, I'm very curious to see what the string pack is, if they're actually announcing it in-game. Be ready, guys, save your money, because we're gonna release a pack to help you with the hard mode dungeons. This is what we have in terms of in-game news. Well, I've told you guys, we're gonna get all the starter champions as legendary. I was discussing it in quite a few different videos. I made a video on the next guaranteed event, potentially, and they finally released the news about the new Void champions. You heard me right. They're all freaking Void. Now, I cannot really be positive about all these things, guys, because it's just absolutely ridiculous to add 4 Void legendary champions that they just don't deserve the title of Voids. So there are 2 options here. Either they completely have no idea of how to play the game, what's happening in their game, they don't know what a meta is, they don't know what's happening at all, or they just wanna dilute the pool and screw the people that are opening shards. Because if you're paying attention to the non-Void champions, ages ago, there were quite a few of the meta champions, right? Well, right now, they're probably 4% meta champions in there. Even lower now, because they moved all that towards Void champions. And just straight off the back, they decided to add 4 more Void champions on top of it, which are just not capable to do anything. So this is Atel, okay? Supreme Atel. And again, she's a wannabe arena champion. I say she's a wannabe, and I'm gonna explain in a second why. Attacks one enemy with A1. If there are enemies under a freeze debuff, also attacks them. Decreases the enemy's attack by 3% whenever this champion hits an enemy with this skill. Stacks up to 30%. Also increases this champion's attack by 3 whenever they hit an enemy with this skill. Stacks up to 30%. Then, Cold Company, which is the A2, attacks all enemies. Will ignore Strengthen, Ally Protection, and Unkillable buffs on enemies under freeze debuff. Yeah, I want to see that happening. And then Dan has a chance to place the freeze debuff. So basically, this champion does something that ignores everything when the champions are frozen, but she only attempts to land the freeze after she wastes everything else that she does, instead of attempting to land the freeze and then do the rest of the things, which again, pointless in arena. I don't know why they keep trying to do these wannabe Necret counters and stuff like that with Strengthen, Ally Protection, and all the rest of the things, when these champions are just not able to carry out the work, you know, like, you're gonna need to land freeze. you're gonna have block buffs on block debuffs on your team, so you're not gonna be able to debuff the enemies most probably, or they're gonna have stone skin, or they're gonna have so many different things that can be on them, and you wanna land freeze, you know. Then the A3 places an increased attack and an increased crit rate buff and a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns, then grants an extra turn. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's attack. That sounds interesting, might be a nice shield. But honestly, I just don't feel like this champion will have any use whatsoever. Even on the Fire Knight, like what am I gonna do on the Fire Knight? It's not even a multi-hit on the A1, it's a single hit. It's not gonna be a good champion for the Fire Knight dungeon either, regardless of the freeze in the kit, you know? The passive has a 15% chance of placing a freeze debuff on the attacker for 1 turn when hit while under a shield buff. So basically you gotta either have a shield on your team, either come in with the A3, get wrecked by somebody that's gonna kill you, because it's not like you're gonna survive a nuker with a champion like this, and then that nuker might freeze if it doesn't have immunity on it, you know. Then has a 35% chance of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever a shield buff on this champion is removed by damage. Okay, very, very interesting. Increases ally attack in arena battles by 35%. So that's Supreme Atel. I'm personally not excited about this champion at all. I feel like it's gonna be another sort of Fortress. I don't need to try most of these champions out. It's pretty much enough to just read their skills and you know what the champions will do. Even if she's gonna have insane multipliers, which I highly doubt it, she's just not really gonna have any sort of use. Yeah, ignoring that unkillable AoE is nice. Don't get me wrong. That's nice. Ignoring the strength and ally protection is nice. But you need to have freeze on the enemy for it to happen. So you're not gonna ignore crap. You're just gonna attack all enemies, fail to land the freeze too because you need accuracy on your nuker. She's not gonna do any damage because of it, and that's the story of Supreme Atel coming to Raid Shadow Legends. Moving over to the next champion, Supreme Gallic. Now I gotta say, out of all the starter champions coming in as legendaries, he is my favorite, and I'm gonna explain you why. With the A1, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Each hit has an extra 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit, so you only need to build a champion with 90% crit rate. Each hit also has a chance of increasing the duration of any HP burn debuffs on the target by 1 turn. With the A2, attacks 4 times at random on a 3-turn cooldown fully booked, places an increased attack buff on this champion for 3 turns before attacking. Each hit has an extra 10% chance of inflicting the crit hit. Each hit fully booked will have a 100% chance of instantly activating any HP burn debuffs on each target and decreasing the duration of those HP burn debuffs by 1 turn. Fills the champion's turn meter by 30% if 3 or more HP burn debuffs are activated during the attack. So I'm not sure if they mean if HP burn is up for a 3-turn cooldown and you're activating them all and then you gain the turn meter, or you need to have it on 3 different enemies like in the spider dungeon, for example. I'm not 100% sure. Then the A3 attacks all enemies, has an extra 10% chance of inflicting a critical hit, has a 100% chance fully booked of placing a HP burn and a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. And this is on a 3-turn cooldown, so this skill 100% is a good skill. Also places an increased speed debuff on targets whose turn meter is higher than 50%. Then the passive, whenever this champion receives fear through fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, stun or petrification debuff, instantly removes it, then fully heals this champion and grants an extra turn. Attack aura for all battles by 33%. So let me put it like that. Out of all the 4 champions, this is the only one that deserves the title of Void Legendary. The other ones, they just seem like average champions, wannabe champions, and I don't know. I'm disappointed that they're constantly doing these decisions. It's not my game. It's their own way of running it. They do whatever they want. I'm just kind of like free to express my feelings, my emotions, guys, you know? Then, Supreme Gallic, is definitely my favorite out of the 4. We have Supreme Kale. So, they do look pretty much very similar with the dark versions. I thought that they will work a bit more on their armor and stuff. So this one here, With the A1 attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance, fully booked 75% chance to land the weakened debuff for 2 turns. The debuff cannot be resisted. So I like Supreme KL as well, but I still don't think he's a Void Lego. Then the A2 attacks all enemies, fully booked, will have a 100% chance to land 3 poison debuffs for 2 turns. These debuffs cannot be resisted. Also increases the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted. So the good part about the champion is that he doesn't require accuracy. Then, with the A3 attacks all enemies, places an increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns before attacking. Also, fully booked has a 100% chance of decreasing the resistance by 50% on all enemies. Again, it cannot be resisted, and fills the champion's turn meter by 10 for each decreased resistance debuff placed by this skill. The passive decreases each target's accuracy, crit rate, and crit damage by 3% for each poison debuff on them. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. So, yeah, he's not a completely rubbish champion, Supreme K leader, but I still don't think just with this kit he's gonna be a Void Legendary. You know, like I'm just thinking of Corvus, I'm thinking of other similar champions that are playing a pretty similar thing. Like, yeah, you need accuracy, big deal. They might end up in being very powerful for the new dungeons, at least this one. So I'm not gonna judge Supreme KL too much, but I still don't like Supreme Atel at all. I feel like they haven't made Atel justice at all with how the champion is. And how I mentioned, Supreme Galek is my ultimate favorite out of these champions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you excited to get 4 brand new Void Legendary champions, guys? From which one of them is nice, the other one is decent, the other 2 are wannabes. Are you excited to pull shards to get your Krisk or whatever other champion you guys are hunting? Knowing that, bang, the 10x chances are being knocked down to the ground even more on the Void shards. But you know what? That was all for this video. Much love, appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all soon in the next video. Peace.